Greetings, everybody. Chess by Jason here, bringing you the second installment in what I think will be a three-part series on my favorite opening, the English opening. And I wanted to share this game with you that is my fastest ever tournament victory against a chess master. I think when I was a kid, I probably got one or two four-move checkmates in, but after a certain point, that's just going to stop working completely, and you have to up your game to new level of subtlety. Now, this was actually, my first game since becoming a master, and I was playing at the excellent San Diego Chess Club in Balboa Park. Shout out to Chuck and them. That was one of the coolest chess clubs ever. I hope that in the post-corona era, they come back better than ever, because that was an awesome club and a great location. And let's jump right into the game. My opponent, FIDE Master, we'll call him Kevin T for short. A very tough opponent. In fact, this game is no good indicator of his skill, because right before this game, I had watched him playing the previous round, and he had just a blistering attack, and he checkmated. I think it was just an expert, but he beat them terribly, and I was like, all right, great, I get to play him next. But fortunately, I had the white pieces, and I started with, at the time, my move order was one knight f3. So I could see this is an old game, summer of 2015-ish, because I soon after switched to one c4, which I think is more accurate for the opening I play. But obviously, knight f3 is just as good of a move. My opponent played knight f6. Of course, many moves are good here. And, c4. So it's either an English or a Reti opening, depending on what you want to call it. Black has many good moves here. Alright, g6, e6, c6, d6, c5, as in the game. b6 is completely fine here. Knight to c6 is playable. Okay, as always, everything is good against the English. My opponent played c5, and we get this symmetrical structure. I played a knight c3. These days, I wouldn't play it like this. I don't bring out the knight because I play a different sort of setup most of the time. But, here, my opponent played knight c6, g3, and this one starts off just like the variation in my previous video, only it deviates very quickly. My opponent played d5, which once again is a very good way to handle the English, very aggressive, and black is going to try to play for an advantage, really. You have to take. Whenever you're playing this opening, you're playing an English, or you're playing a Sicilian, or you're playing really any opening where the c-pawn has advanced 2 squares. If you see this guy, you're gonna have to capture him the majority of the time. And my opponent recaptured, and I played bishop to g2. Now, in the previous video, we had knight to c7, which is the most played move here, and the computer's choice, and it's because the knight on d5 is not too tremendously placed here. It's a target to this knight, and to the x-ray attack of this bishop. So, a little foreshadowing here, the knight is supposed to retreat. My opponent instead played g6, which should be fine. And I played a move that I insist must be the most accurate here, even though castles has been played more. No. I demand pawn to d3 as the best move here, because I intended to meet bishop to g7 with bishop to d2, defending this square. Now, there is a way to play it where we sacrifice a pawn, and that one goes, after either d3 first, or let's say castles, bishop g7 and d3 anyway. There it is, showing up a fourth on the list. And this one, we just allow the pawn to get captured twice. I don't 1,000% believe in this opening. I am very greedy for pawns. And after, rook to b1, say castles. I've seen bishop h6, bishop to g7. Takes. Queen to c2. And how could black play this? Alright. Queen to d6. Rook f to c1. b6. Well, it looks like white indeed might be pressing a bit here. Pawn to d4, taking advantage of some of the pressure down this long diagonal. And wow, bishop f5, e4, bishop g4. Well, we got ourselves a chess game. I can't make heads or tails of this, but could be worth a second glance. But okay, I didn't play any of that, and I still don't because it is still a wee bit risky. Instead, yeah, d3 first, and after bishop g7, bishop g2, or bishop d2, he castled. Okay, here, this is perfectly fine and reasonable position for both sides. Again, black generally is wanting this knight not to be on this square, but it's not a big deal yet. However, I did start having just little premonitions here, little hints that maybe I could have tactics in the future. Obviously nothing concrete yet, but I played a move that has been seen at least once by Grandmaster Aronian, and he doesn't usually play anything too terribly. So, yeah, h2 to h4. And yeah, here's an Aronian game versus MVL. And okay, this has been seen by some top guys. There's Backrow and Peter Leko. So, alright, I'm not the first one to try this rather exotic pawn push. The idea, basically, is rather than castling, I'd like to play the move h5 and trade it off and use this rook aggressively. And in this case, I wouldn't be castling because this rook could be such an effective attacking piece combined with bishop h6 sort of ideas and really causing some problems for the black king. Okay, so here, some good moves. Yeah, bishop to g4 controls that square, and then there's this really weird line after bishop g4, knight to h2, which is not a move I would be thrilled to play, but here we are opening up the pressure to that knight, and after the bishop retreats from this knight and defends that knight, okay, we could play h5, but I kind of doubt this is good. In fact, I sort of don't think that h4 itself is a wonderful move, but it worked out nicely right here. Because my opponent played probably the wrong idea. What he did make sense in similar structures. He played h7 to h6 with the idea of meeting h5 with g5, and then I will be unable to open up their king position without sacrificing a piece, which is not good here. However, tactically, this move does create some problems combined with the fact that this knight has stayed here a bit too long. Again, going way back to move like 5 or something, this knight generally dips back to c7 and then it could rejoin the game on e6 where it's well placed. But sticking around here, it is a target for this bishop. Okay, so I played the correct move, queen to c1, and I thought to myself, okay, there's no chance that what I think might happen is going to happen. I was against a strong player, and this is a very experienced player, a tough chess master, so blundering this next move is completely uncharacteristic for him, probably a once in a lifetime oversight, and I just happened to be the benefactor of it. So I am going to turn off that engine, and well, he wants to defend the square h7, which, okay, it's attacked twice. If I could take it, bishop takes, queen takes. All right, well, this game is going to be ending in a real hurry. So he played the move king to h7, defending the pawn. And okay, boys and girls, white to play, and I've got a really nice move here. And even 5 years later, I am still in awe that this worked. Yeah, beating such a tough player in 11 moves because he resigned after my next move. Again, once in a lifetime. This will never happen again. The stars had just aligned, and he just happened to overlook a relatively simple tactic for someone of that level. Okay, guys, give it a few more seconds. White to play and trigger my opponent to resign the game. Alright, guys, that should be enough time. I played simply knight takes knight. A move I've been looking at, every move for quite a little while here. But after king to h7, it just works swimmingly. Because, well, if he played the only reasonable move in the position after I took his knight, he's going to have to recapture my knight. And what would I have done here had the game continued? What is white's move? Well, it shouldn't be too difficult because this king, again, has moved onto a square where he is accessible to the knight on f3. Simply knight to g5, the king is in check, and the queen is in check. And here, black has to get out of check. If they move the king, I take the queen. If queen takes knight, the queen is gone. If pawn takes knight, my friend Daniel once suggested pawn takes pawn check here, which is pretty cold-blooded to not take the free queen. But okay, the game would have ended already. No one's going to play this out. And yeah, just like that, that game concluded. And yeah, I was really, really happy with that because, again, that was actually only my first or second tournament game as a chess master. And I was like, wow, I've really arrived. Of course, I kind of won the lottery on this game to win so easily. But still, a nice little trick. And one of the reasons I am so fond of my English opening. And so we'll go back and look at that one more time. I started with knight f3, knight f6, c4, and c5, knight c3, knight c6. So we have symmetry here. g3 is the main move by far. Yeah, no one plays d4. But here, d5 for black. Yeah, I really do like this. And this is just like in my previous video, the same structure for black. And it's really good. I think I've just been getting lucky against it. After pawn takes pawn, knight takes, bishop g2. Again, knight dropping immediately back to c7 is the main idea, because if it sticks around on d5, well, we've seen what kind of trouble it could get in. But he played g6, d3, which I insist is the most accurate move. I won't hear anything else. Bishop g7 and bishop d2, so I'm prepared to defend the knight. I don't have to sacrifice the pawn in a line that is interesting, but I still haven't been willing to really explore it. He castled, and yeah, a move that has been seen a couple times, pawn to h4. With that idea, h5, pry open the h-file, and use this rook for evil instead of good. Okay, h6 is played, preparing to meet h5 with g5, but I got to play queen c1 and sort of cross my fingers, and yeah, imagine my surprise when he very quickly played the losing move, king to h7, defending h6, but at what cost? This one was kind of funny because I hadn't even been looking at the board when he played it. I think I had been looking at my score sheet or something. And when I saw this move had been played, I think I had like some audible intake of breath, like, which, I mean, of course, that is terrible chess etiquette, but I mean, it was involuntary. And then he probably realized right away that something's very wrong, because after, yeah, knight takes knight, he simply had to resign, which was, yeah, very, very unfortunate. Again, a strong player wouldn't usually miss this, and he is more than capable of seeing this moves ahead. It was just once in a lifetime blind spot. Of course, you cannot recapture the knight because knight to g5 hits the king and the queen at once. And if you can't capture this knight, I'm just going to move it next turn, and I'm up a piece for nothing, which is not really a game that is worth playing out at a high level. Well, anyway, you guys, that is another one of my little English openings where my opponent was very nice to me. I do think that is a good setup for black. It just has to be played with some amount of accuracy, or else white does have, this pressure down the long diagonal is a bit annoying. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed it. If you like these fun videos, please subscribe and like and tell all your friends so I could be a big deal on the internet. Okay, you guys, thank you, and good night.